Sonic blasts onto PlayStation Portable with intense multiplayer action. Old friends become new enemies. Go fast, go hard, or go home. Sonic Rivals, only on PlayStation Portable, rated everyone.
You know, I always found it weird when people would try to sell multiplayer as a selling point on a handheld console. Not a lot of people I knew growing up went multiplayer with handheld games, especially on the PSP. Anyway, good evening, guys. Hope you're all having a good work week. Hope you all had a good work week. Welcome to the Game Reserve. My name is Jagger Newman. I'm the Warren in these parts. And tonight we're digging into another batch of Sonic Spin-offs, though this time it's not going to be a tremendous amount of games because there's only 2 games to cover. Tonight we're looking at the Sonic Rivals Duology. So within the span of 2 years, Sonic had gone from a pillar of the video game industry to a complete another laughingstock with the 1-2 punch of Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06. Shadow the Hedgehog was like Sega throwing a great big roundhouse that had no chance of connecting, and Sonic 06 was a follow-up that also had no chance of connecting, but this time it was met with the swift counterpunch that basically put them on the mat. So yeah, Sonic was in a bad spot, and it's a shame too because there are plenty of other Sonic games coming out at the time, and not all of them were bad. Sonic Rush was pretty good. While it has its issues, Sonic Riders was decent as well. But when you have games this bad, you need to do better than okay. And that sort of didn't bode well for other games that were set to release in 2006. One of them being Sonic Rivals for the newly minted PlayStation Portable. And just the fact that it was on the PlayStation Portable sort of had the game in a bad spot because while the PlayStation Portable had a lot of hype and steam behind it, it never really amounted to much outside of, just being a neat little piece of tech back in the day. However, Sonic Rivals would prove to be a critical and commercial success, and it would be followed by a sequel in 2008. But in the modern landscape of the series, not a lot of people know of this game, and that's probably because it was on the PSP. I don't know if you noticed, but the PlayStation Portable isn't really a brand anymore because, it was just so far behind Nintendo in regards to handheld consoles. And even today, Nintendo still holds a monopoly on the handheld market, the Steam Deck be damned. Because of that, Sonic Rivals has become one of the more unknown games in the series, and I gotta be honest, I think it's one of the most underrated in the entire franchise. I obtained a PSP in 2010, I think it was, and one of the first games I ran down for it was Sonic Rivals. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from it. I honestly expected it to suck. But I was pleasantly surprised. It spent a good amount of rotation in my PSP and what little time I had the thing for. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited to show you guys this game. And without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started on that.
Sega.
Backbone Entertainment, why does that sound familiar? Okay, so right off the bat, we got ourselves a sick as hell title screen. The graphic design is great. I love the colors, and the background image is great, like with the way it's shaking and the characters just popping up in frame. It kind of looks like they're moving at the speed of sound, and you're just getting a quick snapshot of them. Also, great music as well. We're off to a really good start here. And right away, we got one of the major problems with Sonic Rivals, and that's the character roster. As you can see, you only got 4 characters: Sonic, Knuckles, Shadow, and Silver. Later on, you can unlock Metal Sonic in, the secondary modes. Like, you can see he shows up here in challenge mode, but he doesn't get his own story mode or anything. Honestly, it's a little sparse, and when Sonic Rivals was first announced, I actually remember it just being Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow, with Silver being revealed later on. So, Sega wasn't doing a very good job building it up initially. I would have added a few more characters, maybe Jet the Hawk, Blaze the Cat, no, maybe Mighty as well. You know, just some more characters to round out the roster, but... Huh, nifty. You know, Eggman, a camera that can turn anything you take a picture of into cards. That sounds really overpowered, and you got Sonic and Knuckles, your two most powerful enemies, standing right there. Don't you think it might be wise to snap a picture of them and then put those cards through a shredder? But no, you're going to antagonize them. You know, I've always said that Eggman is a man who is prone to gross miscalculation, but that's just sheer stupidity, dude. Hey, guys, Sonic, Knuckles, you know I love you fellas, but Tails and Amy are in danger. Let's work together. Boogada, 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 boys! Let's go racing! Alright, so starting things off, we're going to talk about the controls. And yeah, this actually feels pretty good. Movement feels pretty responsive, jumping is good. Play control is nice. Yeah, this actually feels really good. And in fact, I really like the idea behind Sonic Rivals. This was before retro gaming became a big deal in gaming. You know, before New Super Mario Bros. And, Mega Man 9 came out. So, doing retro games themed after old games wasn't really popular yet. So I like the idea of a 2.5D Sonic game. You know, a game that's 2D but made with 3D graphics. It's a good way to get the classic 2D gameplay in there while also maintaining the cutting-edge 3D graphics that people want to see. It's also pretty well done here too. As you can see, they're having fun with the camera angles. And though the camera does move a little bit, not always looking at the characters from a strictly side perspective, it does a really good job keeping the camera in a spot where you can clearly see what you're doing. Not to mention the fact that these graphics are pretty damn spectacular for a handheld, aren't they? The PSP was certainly rocking that power, it's just, you know, it had so many other issues. It was too expensive, it was actually a CD-based console for a handheld, which was a little oddball. Meant that it was a little unreliable. There's just a lot working against the PSP. They basically made all the same mistakes that Sega did with the Sega Game Gear. But yeah, so far this is a lot of fun. They could have sold me on just a straight 2.5D platformer. But for whatever reason, they decided they wanted to make it a racing game. So the other part of the formula here is, you know, the actual racing. So in every level, you're racing one of Sonic's rivals to the finish in a foot race. I actually don't mind that premise per se. I actually think that's a better idea for a rival battle than like what they did in Sonic Adventure 2. But at the same time, I also don't see the point of it, especially considering narratively, all these characters should be working together, not necessarily, you know, trying to hinder each other like this. The benefit of it, though, is that it gives the game a really frantic pace to it. You're constantly trying to stay on the move so you can stay ahead of your rival, in addition to trying to stay on the track, so... yeah, not bad in the slightest. Also, a lot of ways you can interact with your rival as well. You, of course, got Mario Kart-esque items, like a fireball projectile, a shield, and special moves for each character. Like Sonic, you've seen me do it a couple of times. He's got a speed boost. Knuckles has a ground pound, which can stun the opponent for a second. Shadow can do Chaos Control, which slows an enemy down, and Silver can scramble his opponent's controls for a little bit. What I like about the items here is that they change depending on what your position is. So, say I got the firepower right now, I use it now because I'm in the lead. It works as a fire shield, but if I'm behind, it'll be a fire projectile, like this right here. They probably realized they could get away with that, considering that you're racing one-on-one. If you're behind your opponent, you can also do a melee attack to sort of jostle them out of the way. You can home and attack them. Yeah, it's just a really fun gameplay premise. It is a little disappointing that you can only play this in single player now. And like I said, I didn't know very many people who had a PSP back in the day, let alone Sonic Riders, so I never had a chance to play this in multiplayer. I really wish that Sega would release this in like a collection or something, because, you know, I would like that opportunity to play this in multiplayer, you know, play it with the MLG Panda. Yeah, so we still have boss fights as well. Basically what it is just first person to 6 hits wins. So I guarantee it's going to be you, because the computer player is a little dumb in these sections. And it's just another example of, you know, the game clearly being intended primarily for single player, and them incorporating a lot of single player elements to it while shoehorning in the multiplayer component. Like, I don't understand why they didn't just make a simple 2.5D Sonic game, and I believe that was actually the original intention, but I can't remember his name, but, you know, the guy who was running the show at the time, you know, the idiot behind Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06, he mandated that it needed to be a multiplayer game for some reason, though not really taken into account, you know, that would be viable on the PSP, which was also his choice. Yeah, and as I said earlier, the inclusion of Silver in this game was probably an 11th hour decision. When they first announced Sonic Rivals, I distinctly remember the promotional footage only showing Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow, and then right before Sonic 06 came out, they started adding Silver to the mix. I'm not sure why they decided to do that. I guess they were really banking on Silver becoming a popular character, but as you guys probably know, that wasn't really the case, though Silver has really come into his own as a character in the modern landscape of the series, especially in the comic books. Game really does have a nice pace to it as well. I also really like those vault points. In racing games, something that's common is you often have to make snap decisions as you're moving really fast. And considering you're running on a 2D plane, it's a little harder to do that. But these vault points sort of do that because you need to decide if you want to go high or if you want a sudden burst of speed. So that's another good design aspect. I like it. Out of my way. Yeehaw! Yeah, and there are cards you can collect throughout the game. It's probably a way to encourage replayability, but, you know, I don't have much desire to go back and collect all those cards. And that is another one of the issues with Sonic Rivals. Once you've played through the story once, you've basically seen everything that the game has to offer. So there isn't much incentive to keep playing outside of playing as the other characters to get the full depth of the story. But the story isn't anything to write home about, so it's not really worth investing a whole lot of time into. It's also really ignoring the continuity as well, pre-established continuity, but, you know, Sonic Team was just kind of doing that at the time. Silver. And that is an ugly statue. That is one of the most Eggman things I have ever seen. Come on, come on, come on! Ah, he probably got me. Yeah, he got me at the last minute. Up yours, Metal. But anyway, that's Sonic Rivals. So while Sonic Rivals does have a lot of problems, it is lacking in content and replayability and all that stuff, and you're probably not going to be playing multiplayer with your friends in this anytime soon. But in concept, it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to race through levels. The graphics are good. Presentation overall is strong. There's strong production values here, and I see a lot of potential with it. So, yeah, I actually do really recommend this game, if you have a PSP, that is. This isn't something you should be running out just to purchase the console for. So, one thing Sonic Rivals 2 has going for it is that it has more characters to play as. So, in the story mode, the characters are broken up into teams. So, you have Sonic and Tails, Shadow and Metal Sonic, Silver and Espio, and Knuckles and Rouge. And you can play as these characters individually in alternate modes as well. And I gotta say, these teams are a little head-tilting to me. Like, Sonic and Tails, I mean, duh, that made sense, but Shadow and Metal Sonic, that's a really odd pairing to me. Knuckles and Rouge sort of makes sense, because, you know, they spend a lot of time together, with Rouge always trying to take the Master Emerald, so it made sense they would team up every once in a while, but why Silver and Espio? I mean, like what I think it should have been, Sonic and Tails, Knuckles and Espio, Rouge and Shadow, because who else is Shadow going to work with? And for Silver, I would have replaced Espio with Blaze or someone, but whatever.
Well, look who it is. Knuckles.
And there's voice acting too.
You on a date or something?
Knock it off, Sonic.
Unfortunately, it's before it gets gas, so the delivery is kind of off.
What's it to you?
Well, the Master Emerald seems to be missing again, and...
Again!
That figures. What else is new, Knuckles? I'm gonna talk to Eggman first, so I'll see you later.
Oh man, like, Sonic, I love you, but you can be such an asshole sometimes. It's no wonder Shadow wants to beat the shit out of you.
This'll be fun.
Boogity boogity boogity, boys, let's go racing!
Whoa. All right.
So, in concept, it's basically the same as Sonic Rivals, 2.5D platforming, where you're racing against your buddies. I mean, nothing really to report there. Looks a little bit cleaner, though, and I like that the first level is in Green Hill Zone or whatever. I really do not like that music, though. I am not a fan of this song. Would have preferred if it was just an instrumental. One change that they did make compared to the first game is how the items work. With the previous game, the items were, well, the items are still pretty much the same, but the special moves aren't items anymore. Instead, you have a meter you fill up. And once it's full, you can do the character's special ability, like in Sonic's case, the Sonic Boom. That's inconvenient. Anyone else thinking of that scene from Jackass where they roll him down the hill in the tractor tires? Ugh, man, I hate this song so much. And like you have a spinning goal ring, would have killed you to put like a spinning sound effect to make it exciting that you cross the finish line. So far so good, not a major improvement, but not terrible either.
Hey, Sonic! How about a little one-on-one instead of this silly race?
Knuckles, don't tell me you're tired already.
What'd you say? I'll show you how tired I am.
I guess we got a one-on-one fight here.
This'll be fun.
Okay, is it just me or does it look like Sonic is doing the monkey? You know, the Johnny Bravo dance. Ah.
No contest.
And this is the main thing why I say Sonic Rivals 2 isn't as good as the first game. I'm not a big fan of these knockout battles. It just seems like it's too easy for the computer player to get hits in on you.
That was too easy.
I'll show you what I can do.
Ah, now that's more like it with the music.
Here I go. Oh, I'll try harder next time.
I'm doing my best, Tails. There we go.
I really, really won.
There we go. Man, the Egg-mobile, that's looking a little silly. They even got cards from
Looks like we lost Eggman's
the
trail,
Hedgehog.
and we're stuck in the middle of this forest.
Look, Sonic! Eggman dropped something. It looks like a page from a book. It says, "The All-Powerful Ifrit."
Tails, we haven't played that game yet.
Ifrit.
It's Sonic Rivals 2. In a lot of respects, it is better than the first Rivals game. There's more variety in the content. There's more content for that matter in general. But at the same time, there's just something off about it. There's just something about the level design and the mechanics that, you know, just don't have that same flow that the original Sonic Rivals had. But overall, it's not a bad game either. I definitely prefer the first game, but no, this one is still worth playing. But yeah, the Sonic Rivals Duology, a very underrated entry in the series. I like the concept, and I gotta believe this is where Sonic Team got the idea to, you know, incorporate 2.5D elements in stuff like Sonic Unleashed and eventually Colors and Generations. You know, because it does work really well for Sonic. It's a good way to get the platforming in there while still maintaining that speed. So, yeah, if you're a fan of Sonic, you got PSP, I do highly recommend checking out these games because they are a lot better than I think people give them credit for.